So I've been slightly overly obsessed with trying to create a nice minimalist desk setup to help me with my productivity at university, but also last year in my work as a project manager. And in this video I just wanted to take you through what my setup is in case you're interested, and just show you what I use, how I use it, and then I'll try and include some links in the description if you're interested in checking any of it out. And just a pre-warning, if you're a perfectionist you might hate this video, and that's okay. But I'm not going to tell you why now, I'll let you wait to find out. Before we get to the desk, let me start with this chair that I'm sitting on. Now, I got this chair over lockdown a couple of years ago as I realised how much working from home I'd have to do. And it's really, really great, particularly for me as a taller person, as it's got adjustable lumbar support and adjustable head support. And you can also adjust sort of the width of the chair, and also it goes a lot higher than most other chairs I've ever used, which is really helpful for me as a taller person. Now, it does have armrests, but I've actually taken them off as I often find they collide with the desk at the height that I want it at. So I've taken them off, but you do have them. Now, it is from IKEA, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name, but I'll put it up on the screen, and hopefully you can find it if you want to purchase it. I will say, when I got it, it was definitely cheaper than it is now, so it is on the bit more expensive side, but I always feel like it's worth spending on something that's going to really help you, particularly with your health if you get a bad back like I do, but also you're going to be using it constantly all day, every day, so I feel like it's probably worthwhile to try and spend a little bit more on a good chair. So let's move on to the desk itself. So before I tell you exactly what it is and how it works, just a little bit of context about how I got it, because I didn't actually have to buy it. So when I was going through school, we found out that I actually have Crohn's disease, which is an inflammatory bowel disease. And effectively, when you're starting university, the Disabled Students Allowance in the UK will assess you for your needs and what things you might need to help you with the education when you're living with a disability, whether it's physical, like Crohn's disease, or like a learning disability, like dyslexia, which I also have. But effectively, what they did is that they realised that a sit-stand desk would actually be really helpful for me, and I won't get into the details of why, but effectively, they gave it to me for free. And I'm so grateful they did, because not only has it been helpful for my Crohn, but probably even more beneficially, it's been so helpful for my lower back, because I always get a bad back, and it's really helpful because I can obviously move it up and stand at it if I want to. The screens have gone off. So because I didn't buy it, it's quite hard for me to find exactly sort of where you could buy it, but I did do a bit of research, and I think I found the link to the base. I think you have to purchase the base and the top separately, and I believe that this is the beach surface. I think this is the smallest one they do, and I've often found that it's a good size. It's very deep, it's not very wide, which I would have preferred a slightly wider one. And looking back at the sort of order form that the DSA sent me, it costed 350 quid altogether, and that was in 2018, so I imagine it's obviously probably gone up by a little bit since then. I do like the fact that it's quite deep though, because it just means I can fit, you know, lots of paper and write and stuff, and have my monitors sort of further away from me if I need to. It just gives me a bit more space to work with. Now, this is the bit the perfectionists are really going to hate, and to be honest, I kind of hate it too. So my monitors don't actually match. They are very similar, but they're not the exact same, and therefore they sit at different heights. Originally, for many years, I only had one monitor, as that's all I really needed. But as I started my job as a project manager, I realised having two would be so beneficial, particularly specifically for using Microsoft Project, as it allowed me to sort of stretch it across both screens, and I could extend my program and see the full thing. And so I have no regrets with getting two. It's great to have, but it is annoying because the original monitor I had, basically they stopped selling it. And so I had to find one that was as similar as possible, and it's an LG one still, and it's got the same sort of borderless style. But for whatever reason, they've mounted the Visa mount just like about half a centimetre, maybe even about a centimetre lower than the other one. And I'm just like, why has someone done this? Anyway, I'll give you a link to the more recent one that I bought, because that one I think is still available. And it's, yeah, a very good monitor, 1080p, but it's not like the highest quality monitor in the world. It's just your standard one, about 150 quid, I think. And as you can see in the B-roll, they are very slightly different heights. I hate the fact that someone has consciously made the decision to put the Visa mount at a different height on each of these monitors, knowing that they're very similar monitors. Anyway, so these two monitors are actually attached to a dual monitor stand, which I love. However, due to my very tall nature, I've actually had to modify it so that it's the right height for me. As you can see in the video, I added these 3 wooden blocks to prop it up so that my eye line would be the same height as the monitors, whilst the desk was still at the right height for my arms to be at right angles. And if you want to see like a full breakdown of how to set up an ergonomical desk setup with what I call the 90-degree rule. I've made a full video about that, and I strongly suggest you check that out if you get any kind of pain when you're working at your desk. So I mainly use my 14-inch MacBook Pro as my main sort of driver, as it's a beast of a laptop. I do all of my editing, scripting, sort of YouTube stuff on it, and I do about 60% of my university work on it. After my first year of studying mechanical engineering, I actually built my own PC, which I'll show you a couple of clips of. And it was super beneficial because it allowed me to use engineering software in my room. More recently though, I've been going to the library a lot more because they have good sort of computers there. More importantly, it's nice and warm and I don't get as distracted. So I do a lot of my sort of engineering software work on those computers in the library. And I will do some of it, like I've done this afternoon, on this PC that I have here. I do intend on selling this PC though at the end of the term in a couple of months' time. So if any of you want to buy a PC, then let me know. I use this MX Master Mouse and have done for a very, very long time. I bought it on Black Friday many years ago, I can't remember when, and it's still going as if it's new. It's got a couple of scratches here and there, and I did break the receiver, but it's Bluetooth anyway, so it can connect to my computers anyway. It's still one of my best purchases. It's just so comfortable to use, and I just don't notice it. And as I said, it's still going strong. You barely need to charge it ever, and you can plug it in for about 5 minutes and it's got like 30% charge and will last you weeks. So I like to keep my alarm clock on the opposite side of my room so that when it goes off in the morning, I actually have to get out of bed to go and turn it off, which is why it's on my desk. It's kind of the most convenient place for it to be. I reckon when I move into a house where hopefully I have an office in a different room, I won't have that on there, as it kind of isn't as minimalist, but never mind. I do kind of like it to be able to see the time though, and actually it also does help sort of provide some nice lighting for my face when I'm on like a video call. But to be honest, I'd rather it weren't there, but it's the best place at the moment for this room. I also like to have this lamp always sort of available, as it provides a nice sort of lighting. Most of the time I actually have it pointed up at the wall just to provide some nice lighting, but I can also turn it round and point it down at the desk if I really need to like see something that I'm writing down. I also have a bowl on my desk which has all of my sort of essential day-to-day carry items such as keys, wallets and headphones. I just like to have it there as it's easy to chuck in when I come in from a day out. Again, when I move into a house where I actually have a house, I probably won't have this on my desk, but because everything I own pretty much is in one room, it kind of is a bit difficult to manage. And the final thing to just briefly mention is cable management. I'm really not a perfectionist when it comes to cable management. However, when you've got a sit-stand desk and you're constantly going up and down, you really need to make sure you're managing your cables well. So that's why I've effectively stuck a big extension cable onto the bottom of this desk, so that when it moves up and down, all the sort of plugs will move with it and it won't, you know, rip off a monitor or rip a charging cable out. So that's the majority of what I wanted to talk about with this desk. I've noticed recently that my channel's grown quite a lot, and if you've joined in the past sort of couple of weeks, then I'm so grateful that you're here. I really hope that I can add some value to your life, particularly talking about work and rest and how we can sort of do those things better. I'm particularly not an expert on this at all, but I'm trying my best to sort of figure out ways of doing this better, and I just kind of want to take you guys along with it, with me. So yeah, if you've subscribed recently, then thank you so much. If you're new, then please do consider subscribing. I've got a bunch of new videos coming out about this topic area of work and rest. And if you want another video to watch around this sort of idea of a desk setup, as I've mentioned in the video, I've got a hopefully really helpful setup video about how you can set your desk up ergonomically using what I call the 90-degree rule. So that might be helpful for you. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.